You know how outdoor clothing shops like the North Flag love displaying those bright red and yellow jackets near the entrance? Those colors look incredible in marketing photos and videos. They make the jackets more memorable in our minds. This isn't a new idea, this is a common practice, with even some watch brand managers stating that certain colors on their new watches are loved by the media, but they're not necessarily the best sellers. For Breitling, I do think that the pistachio, and in this case, salmon colors for the Premier line, may have been selected by the brand for this very reason, to get people into the door. But here, something's different. For many, when they see the salmon Premier, they want the salmon Premier. Check out Swiss Connection watches for your next watch, website linked in the description below. To me, this watch is the poster boy of the new face of Breitling, the fresh revamp that brought back the golden age of Breitling from its rich historical roots of the 40s and 50s with a modern twist. The B25 looks back at the Premier references from the 40s, almost a hybrid of three incredible models, 777 and 799 from 1945, and the reference 785 from 1950. And this hybridization gives the watch an originality that is true to Breitling's heritage. It's often misjudged as a copycat of the Patek 5270p perpetual calendar chronograph, but the resemblance is more coincidental than inspirational. The B25 now has moved up to more modern dimensions, in this case coming in a 42mm stainless steel case with a thickness of 15.35mm, a lug width of 22 and a lug-to-lug of 50mm. This may seem unreasonably large on paper, but the size is not based on the design but more on the engineering behind the caliber. First of all, the Patek Philippe, which also features a calendar chronograph, comes in a close 41mm and a thickness of 12.4mm. But considering that Patek came with a manual wind caliber instead of an automatic like the one in this P25, just 30 meters of water resistance instead of 100, again like in this P25, and retailed for almost $200,000 at the time of its release. As opposed to this Breitling that is cheaper than a Rolex Daytona, the Datora is a no-brainer. But let's take it a step further. Let's try to understand the psychology behind the design. Breitling is branded as creating purpose-driven, action-ready watches with style. Nobody that walks into a Breitling showroom is looking for an ultra-slim, dainty dress watch. Even the reference 777 from the 40s was considered bold at 38mm back in the day. So the bold design identity is ingrained in the brand's DNA. A Breitling has historically always been a purpose-driven tool watch designed for pilots and astronauts, and that heritage has translated not just in the modern catalog, but even in the way the Swiss brand designs its showroom interiors. Now you might be thinking that's all fun, but how does it actually wear? Here you can see on my below average wrist size of 6.2 inches, the 42mm still wears well without any overhang. As for the thickness, 15.35mm is not slim, but when the watch is this good looking, you find a way to make it work. The first thing that bugged me when I looked at this watch was how the 2, 4, 8, and 10 markers were cut off. My OCD gets triggered every time I look at it. Why would they carefully create these beautifully mirror-polished Arabic numerals, gently apply them over the dial, but chop off these numbers? The reality is that this is a strong design nod to the original Premier references, which by the way had a surprisingly short run. So there isn't much that can be done in terms of design changes without drastically altering the DNA of the Premier line. But besides that, everything else is done to perfection. I love the symmetry of the dial, with a layer of subtlety when looked from macro and new details appearing the closer you get. Details like the triple step layering on the moon phase at 6, how the line weight of the printed minute track, the tachymeter scale, and the text on the subdials doesn't burden the eye with busyness. Or how, even with a complete calendar displaying day date, month, and moon phase along with a chronograph, still manages to maintain high legibility. These are all signs of well-considered design that can be only achieved with seniority and experience, and is often the place where even more expensive offerings get it wrong. The watch is powered by Breitling's manufacturer caliber B25. There has been some confusion in the past around this movement, but let me set the record straight. This is not an in-house movement, but is developed in collaboration with Concepto, based on the brand's specific requirements. And I'm happy to see Breitling being transparent and mentioning Concepto on their website as a partner on this caliber. Breitling has a rich history of developing and manufacturing column wheel chronographs throughout the years. In fact, their expertise has allowed them to supply their movements to other watch brands, including Tudor and Tag Heuer. But considering that the complete calendar is part of a small novelty collection, it would be far more expensive for both the brand and the end consumer to develop an in-house movement just for this watch. Performance-wise, the movement beats at 4Hz, offering 48 hours of power serve and is chronometer certified for a high accuracy of -4 to +6 seconds per day. The finishing and decoration is on the higher side as compared to the competition, with Geneva stripes on the rotor, perlage on the main plate, mirror polishing on screws and gears, and beveling on the bridges. Plus, the vertical clutch column wheel system not only means lesser wear and tear for longevity, but also results in a smoother and crispier feel when actuating the chronograph pushers. The 22mm alligator leather strap integrates perfectly with the case and tapers down to 18mm to the folding clasp, adding to the elegance of the overall design. But if I was to own this watch, I would definitely try and get the OEM bracelet with the slanted links. I think that bracelet would add more versatility to this watch and make it suitable for daily wear. In my opinion, the only other true alternative to this B25 would be the JLC Master Control chronograph calendar with the caliber 759, but it leans more heavily towards the dressier side, whereas this Datora has more of an elegant watch for the adventure styling to it, which I personally find a lot more exciting. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more exceptional watches. And I'll see you in the next one.